Meanwhile, the government has officially ended the learning in schools this year and announced that learning in primary and secondary schools is set to resume in January 2021. Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha has announced that Standard 8 and Form 4 students will be allowed to resume learning in September and sit their examinations in 2021. And as Nancy Marende reports, the resumption of learning is, however, subject to a reduction in the number of COVID-19 cases in the country.
Kenya's education system has been in virtual limbo over the last 3 months following the outbreak of COVID-19. In early June, President Uhuru Kenyatta ordered the Ministry of Education, in partnership with the Ministry of Health, to work out a plan to resume learning. Following consultations with education stakeholders, the Ministry of Education has opted to scrap the 2020 academic calendar and reopen schools in January 2021.
There shall be no KCPE for the year 2020. Number 2, the 2020 Standard 8 and Form 4 cohorts will sit their examinations later in the year of 2021. And number 3, the school calendar of this year will be considered lost due to COVID-19. These decisions made on institutions reopening will apply to all children, including those offering international curriculum. But I want to hasten to say that as we continue, because all children, the health of all children, there's no such child in my mind as a doctor, there's no such child as a private child, a public child, and an international child. All children are children.
The decision was reached due to the spiking number of COVID-19 cases in the country.
The reopening for us and all of us as stakeholders is subject to the flattening of the curve, and number 2, the principle of equity for all children, wherever they are in the Republic, in accessing of education is one of the greatest guiding factors.
Our children come first in this pandemic. For once, we have to bow down to the wisdom of the doctors as they tell us what to do. The opening of the county boundaries will now teach us something different from what we have been seeing in the numbers for the virus. So this is a time for us as educationists to sit back and prioritize the health of our children while we watch what happens next.
With schools now set to reopen in January 2021, the Education Ministry says all students will resume learning in their current classes. According to the Education CS, the current Standard 7 and Form 3 students will practically not be able to cover the curriculum load and prepare sufficiently to sit for their examinations.
The total number of candidature in Form 4 is 752,000, as compared to approximately 1.2 million in Standard 8, which would mean then that even if we had the intention of using the space left by Form 4, we would be having a deficit of in excess of 438,000. Therefore, it shall be difficult, in fact not difficult, it will be impossible to achieve social distancing. And even social distancing apart, we shall be unable to have physical classrooms for this huge number.
The number of teachers required in schools is also expected to increase in order to meet the social distancing requirements that will see the number of students per class go down.
Know that the Teacher Service Commission has not adequately staffed any school to the optimum, and therefore if we reported or if we say that schools open, even the 2 final classes, then the teacher shortage would surge, and these are things that we are then working on. And
meanwhile, teacher training colleges and TVET institutions will be allowed to reopen from September 2020, subject to strict adherence to the Ministry of Health COVID-19 protocols. Reopening of universities for face-to-face sessions will be on case-by-case basis based on the compliance with the COVID-19 protocols.
Universities, most of them are doing so and should continue holding virtual learning and graduations for students who have successfully completed their programs and met graduation requirements set by their respective senates and councils. Universities should consider phased reopening. Actually, they must consider phased reopening because we are going to inspect. Having been a university head for 10 years, I know that they have challenges in the boarding sector, and they must convince us that they have interrogated the students and they have agreed to spread out so that they just have the requisite number who are staying.
Members of the Senate, members of the faculty must agree how they are going to do a phased reopening.
The CS said a comprehensive circular on the examination dates will be released in due course in consultation with the Kenya National Examinations Council. For Metropol TV, I'm Nancy Marende.